I'm going to share the reality about how much even non-coders actually get paid at tech companies. I'm a product management executive who's worked at or received offers from some of the biggest and fastest growing companies in Silicon Valley, Seattle, Toronto, and New York. I don't have a computer science degree. I've never needed to really write code, but my first salary coming into US tech was a lot. It was $120,000 base salary with $50,000 in stock and $12,000 in bonus. That's $182,000 total compensation my first year, and that was before I realized you could negotiate, which has helped me multiply my salary several times since then. And that was a huge shift for me, coming not just from small startups, but even more so coming from the blue-collar jobs I was working before and being a poor musician for years. I was overjoyed when I first made $40,000, and that's the pay you get for a lower salary frontline worker job in tech. Back then, I would have taken one of those frontline roles in a heartbeat over my other jobs. They're more fulfilling and they would have way better benefits. But that brings me to truth number one. You don't need to learn to code or even go to an Ivy League college to earn a great or even a top salary in tech. It's true that technical folks have a bit of a leg up when it comes to software engineering and related technical roles, but there are tons of six-figure non-coding roles requiring either no or limited technical skills at tech companies. These roles pay amazingly well compared to other industries, and some can pay more than even software engineering. There are over 5 million product managers, designers, and program manager profiles on LinkedIn, and 70,000 of them work at the top FAANG tech companies. I made a video on the top paying jobs in tech if you want to see the relative differences in base salary by each role, and that doesn't even fully account for stock compensation. I'll also be making an updated version of that video, so hit the like button and subscribe to get notified. My pay was actually typical in Silicon Valley, but it's becoming closer to the norm in other major US cities and even in Canada and Europe. And that's truth number two. You don't need to work in Silicon Valley to make a great salary in tech. In my video on the top paying cities in the US and around the world for tech, I showed that second cities in the US plus big cities in Canada and Europe are starting to pay really great wages, especially based on cost of living. They're also starting to pay in equity with more and more billion-dollar unicorn companies coming from those cities. This has changed a ton in the past 10 years. And now with remote work, you can work for a US-based tech company while working almost from anywhere. I even worked from Boise, Idaho in the US myself. Now for truth number three. You don't have to work at FAANG to make a great living in tech. My job was not from some huge big name tech company like FAANG, which is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, or Google. It was from one of the thousands of mid-stage private companies. I showed in my video on the top paying tech companies in the world that the top paying companies are not only the big name ones you recognize, like Google, Amazon, Netflix, Airbnb. That salary was also well below many of my friends' starting salaries. Some of them made nearly $300,000 in total compensation. Which brings me to truth number four, which completely baffles me, is that the media is totally underreporting how much people earn in tech. And that's because they're missing what can be the biggest part of your salary throughout your career. I see articles like this one in Forbes list the top 50 jobs in tech, and they don't tell close to the whole story. They list $100,000 to $120,000 a year for product managers and Java developers, and $120,000 a year for dentists as comparison. But what they never mention is that this is just the base salary. This doesn't include bonus, but more importantly, it doesn't include the biggest piece, which is equity. Equity is paid out in stock or stock options in your company, and this becomes a bigger and bigger part of your pay as you go through your career. As a level 2 product manager, for instance, at a tech company, you might get $50,000 to $100,000 per year in equity, but that quickly doubles to $200,000 or even $300,000 per year when you get promoted and can even keep growing from there in addition to decent increases in your base salary. Now, once you've achieved a certain level, your base salary actually stops growing by much, and all of your salary growth will come from bonuses and equity. And what people don't know is your company stock actually gets paid out in shares, not dollars. So if you get lucky, your company stock actually grows between the time you get your offer and when you get paid out in your stock. So your equity compensation can grow even more. Employees at big tech companies have made way more equity than their original offers, as those companies' stocks have skyrocketed over the past few years. You can go to levels.fyi to explore real tech company compensation, including equity at companies around the world, to explore what you can get. Now, stock compensation can lead to massive growth if you started at a pre-IPO private company that goes public on the stock market. And that is, of course, if your company doesn't stumble before getting there. WeWork. Which brings me to truth number 5. You don't need to take a big risk at a small startup to make a lot of money in tech. Your best bet to reduce risk and increase reward is to go to a company that is at least in the growth phase, which is typically 100 to 200 people, a Series D+, and only a few years out from IPO. Early stage startups take a long time, even 10 plus years to get to an exit where you can actually cash out, and they fail at much higher rates. You can get millions in pay by going to a more established growth company that is lucky enough to be a successful IPO. Your safest bet is, of course, to go to a public big tech company. These companies pay a ton in stock, and like I mentioned, that stock can grow just as fast as other companies these days, but you can cash out at any time. Now, stock compensation isn't the only great thing about working at tech. Truth number 6, the perks at tech companies are fantastic. Most tech companies have free lunch, free snacks, gym, wellness benefits, travel, great insurance, and more. Even working remotely, tech workers are getting snack delivery boxes, reimbursed lunches, wellness benefits, free app subscriptions, budgets for their home office, top-of-the-line MacBooks, and more. And if you pick the right team and company, the tech industry tends to be more caring about workers' mental wellness than other high-paying industries, and can have flexible work schedules too. But you have to pick the right company. Every company has to compete with the big players like Google and Facebook. These companies have epic perks, amazing amenities on top of massive salaries. And tech workers will get stolen up by these big companies unless the smaller companies compete. So a lot of people ask me, what about finance? What about consulting? Aren't they better, faster ways to get money than tech? Truth number 7, tech pays way better and is more fulfilling than those careers. This career path has also paid more than I would have ever made in consulting or even finance jobs, and way more rewarding too. Most tech jobs, although they can be mentally taxing at times, require far fewer hours and far less stress than working in investment banking or top management consulting jobs. The salaries in tech can also accelerate faster than those jobs with better staying power. In consulting and finance, a small number of people can make more money after year 4, but most people burn out or get booted out before they ever get that far. That's not to say that all tech jobs are 40-hour per week strolls in the park, but the work is usually much more fulfilling if you pick the right role and company, and the hours are both more flexible and less intensive than consulting and banking. If you go to some of the slightly less exciting but well-established companies, you can even swing 30-hour work weeks with great pay and benefits. I've seen it many times. Microsoft. I'll be posting videos on how to pick the best company and role for you so you can get a more fulfilling and rewarding career. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified. I personally wish I had learned about tech jobs way earlier. Although they require work, there are paths into tech that are non-traditional and don't require a degree at some major college. That is not something you can say about the highest paying careers out there. Plus, you get to work on some amazing products at cool companies with super smart people. You also learn the skills needed to run your own business or even become a digital nomad. And plus, many people reach financial independence much earlier in their lives in tech. I hope you found this enlightening and that you're considering a new and happier path in tech. So comment below with the tech jobs that you would like to go after and stay tuned for more. I'm Colin Waite, and I'll see you in the next one.